now that our engine is running really nicely and like it did before all of this craziness happened, we are going to move to the mooring ball this morning. And from this experience, like with most of our experiences with sailing, we try to learn something from it and we try to see if there was anything that we could have done to prevent it. For example, when the prop shaft thing happened, there was no way anybody could have seen all of these things happening as it was happening. But I feel like the fuel filter issue was something that maybe we could have prevented, maybe. But going forward, I think something that I've read in a few books when it comes to the medical field is the importance of checklists and the importance of starting some big procedure, but making sure you have a checklist to make sure that you haven't forgotten anything. And so introducing our pre-departure checklist. So every time we leave, and including today, because even if we're moving only 200 feet, just to get into the practice of doing these things, we are going to check our engine, which includes checking the oils, dipsticks, checking the rake core is clean, checking the belts are in good condition, checking that our fuel level looks good, that our raw water filter is clean, and that our engine turns on and turns off comfortably. We're going to check our lights. That time we had our nav lights not working, and not realizing that till sunset was something we could have prevented if we checked that all of our lights, our nav lights, our anchor lights, our steaming lights, our tricolor lights were working. Checking our bilge. We had a passage where we realized that the pump switch was actually pushed to the off, so the whole time we didn't have our bilge on automatic. So that's something that I think could have been prevented. Checking button-ups, just making sure the bottles aren't rattling, all the shelves are locked down, and all the rooms are buttoned down and cleaned up is something that I think we can do better. And then checking the deck, making sure all the hatches are closed, making all the fenders are in place, our dinghy is secured, our sails are in good shape, and all of our lines are tied away cleanly. And checking our anchor, making sure our anchor is in good shape, making sure the windlass is working, making sure the anchor locker is in good shape, and the snubber is in good shape. So in the end, it shouldn't, take us a very long time to do all of these things, but we feel that it is the minimum. It is the minimum things we should be doing before we set out on a big journey, even a little one, because, we don't want to get stuck. If we could have prevented something, we want to get ahead of it. So I think it's going to be a good habit to develop with the seasons. Speaking of lists, we have a new to-do list, a beautiful 2-page to-do list. And no, this is not what's going to take over our life for the next week or 2 weeks. This is just the things we would like to get done before we get down to the Caribbean. And yes, some of it we're going to start now. Some of it is just very simple and straightforward. And some of them are big projects. But we are just going to get as much done as we can. But we're going to socialize. We're going to go on sails. We're going to go on, and we're going to continue to hop down south. And we're going to continue our sailing life. But it's a nice goal to achieve by the time we get down to Florida, if we can get all of these things done. But no stress. I think I'm starting to see boat projects as something really exciting, because it always means an improvement in quality of life, or it's a cool little upgrade that we wanted to do because it was cool. So I don't know. I think it's a nicer way of looking at boat projects than, I have to do all these also, and it's going to get in the way of our sailing life. All right, so mooring ball trial number 3, this time hopefully with a very functional engine. We are taking her back out for a test run a little bit, pushing her engines a little bit to see if we can recreate the issue. Hopefully it doesn't, and then we're going to go back into Weems Creek and try to moor, hopefully one last time. And we'll get it on the first try. We are up on this early Sunday morning because one of the cruisers that we met recently, long-term cruisers, actually they've been on the water I think for something like 20, 30 years, have invited us to be part of Cruiseheimers, which is a pun on cruisers with Alzheimer's, because we always forget what day of the week it is, and not actual Alzheimer's. That would be mean. But it's really exciting because I think the more cruisers we meet, especially long-term cruisers who've been doing this for decades more than we have, they are taking us in under their wing and introducing us to all of these wonderful little things that I don't think we would have ever known. We have an SSB, we don't know how to use it. We've never even turned it on. We didn't even know what model it was when they asked us, so this should be fun.
The purpose of the cruise harvest is to share information and help cruisers connect and communicate. Although that is inform those who control them. So please state your boat name and wait to be recognized by net control or a relay.
It's been about 10 days since we arrived in Annapolis, and it's been so nice. We actually got off the boat for almost a week and went for a friend's wedding and hung out with some family and friends and just sort of relaxed and socialized quite a bit. We made this really beautiful project list, and then we keep getting off the boat to go hang out with people. So one day we'll stay on the boat and finish these projects, but that day may be tomorrow or 6 months from now. It doesn't matter. The great news is that we have everything we need on board to finish all of these projects, minus maybe some screws. And so we could do them, like I said, tomorrow, or we could do them 3 months from now in the Bahamas, and it wouldn't make a difference. It's just the speed that we want to go in, because overall Turtle is in great shape, and all of these things are just quality of life improvements, you know, and not so much sort of, oh, tier 1, if we don't do this, she'll sink kind of project. So very happy to be in that stage of our project list now, and just sort of really enjoying the week that's leading up to the boat show. The creek here is getting filled up. A lot of people we met in Rhode Island are coming down here, so we get to see them again. So it's going to be an exciting few weeks, and then we start the great journey south, and that's brand new territory. At least before it was kind of known territory. So very excited about that. Solar panel arch time. So we've got this very professional 3D rendering to the exact inch modeling of the solar panel arch that we're going to build. And to that extent, I went on to sailrite.com's website and got a whole bunch of 2, 3, and 7 foot tubing, stainless steel tubing, and a whole lot of eye ends and jaw ends, I believe. And these two kind of attach into this together. The great thing about these two is that it allows me to attach new rods onto a structure that we already have in place. And this allows for a bit of an angle. So I'm hoping that these are going to be helpful. And then we have a whole bunch of elbows and T's that we're going to use to hopefully put the structure together. Once the structure is together, if it feels sturdy enough, we'll leave it. If it feels like we want to weld it, we can. But this allows for a little bit of play and a little bit of kind of dry fitting everything to make sure it all fits. I mean, we might put it all together and we may hate it. It may not work for the solar panels. We don't know. But this way, nothing is permanent. Everything is screwed on together. So yeah, let's go.
After a very exciting few minutes of me standing in the dinghy and holding up the arch while Spelunna screwed it in, there it is. Our brand new solar arch. We just dry fitted a panel and it looks like it'll work. So we're gonna head over to the store, buy the remaining pieces we need, and get it all in. We've made a ton of progress on the solar panel build, and we're really close to what I think the finish line is, at least for the physical build. The electronics comes later. We've run into one problem. Let me show you. So right here is the clamp that we'll be using to actually attach the to the rod. So basically this will close up, the rails will go through here, and this is what we're going to use to actually kind of secure it. Now the thing is, we need to secure this to the solar panel itself first. If we come down in here, you can see that the screw head is in there, which poses a problem because we can't actually get a screwdriver in there. So we went to the store. We got this little guy, which is an offset screwdriver. So you put a bit into there, and this should be able to get into tight spaces, but this is even tighter than this space can actually go for. So we tried using a different bit from a different set. This one is less than 1 inch tall, and unfortunately it can get underneath, but it can't quite fit into the head because it's just long enough. So we found something online that seems like it might work. So we're gonna order that to come here for tomorrow and try again then. In the meantime, we're gonna start getting the electronics together, and you know, little challenges as you go along, but hopefully soon we'll have this done. So what's up? The solar arch is hanging here, and attached to our solar arch is our solar panels. So we got all 3 of them on. They're connected by these U-bolts we've connected over here. These basically go through the outside of the panel, and they have a nut and a bolt that screws them tightly to the arch itself. All 3 are in. All that's left to do is put the electrical in, and we are done. But we are super proud of ourselves for getting this completed, and very much looking forward to the additional power we get from it. But just it's the most visible change we've made to the boat since we bought it. There's still a couple things left to do, but we feel really happy that we got it on in time.
And we did it all on the hook.
And we did it all while we were on the hook. All right, so we've waited 3 days of rain and very cloudy skies to finally start the electrical. Well, it's electrical hookup for the solar panels. So the first thing we need to do is take this 3-to-1 connector, put all 3 of the positive leads from this. Wait, this is the wrong connector. We get the other connector. But basically, we're gonna put all 3 of them together to make one output for both the positive and negative, and then we're gonna run that back into the boat. All right, I'm at the point where I need to remove, well, I want to basically put all the solar power connections together onto a single power pole. So this isn't the one that's currently in there, but there's these little screws that you use to unscrew the wires and either attach them or take them out. And my screwdriver is too big to fit that thing. We have a pretty tiny set of bits, and they're also too small, so to go back to the store and buy a very tiny flathead bit so we can actually do this part. And then all those continue. Okay, So first we're going to hook up this is the negative going to the boat. This is all of our various negative lines here from the solar panels. Okay, that's in. And this is the positive to the boat and the solar panels. All right, and we will need to figure out how to kind of secure this all up here afterwards, but for now, that should be good. Uh-oh. I just put the reverse of polarity. I got everything else correct, but I reversed the polarity on the last 2 wires. Thankfully, I noticed it before I put them in, so I'm going to fix that real quick. So in this corner over here is our brand new charge controller connected to our solar panels. This here is come on there. It's a little fuse that is protecting the power supply. You can see we have everything wired up here. So this is coming back to the battery. One thing we did change here was that instead of going directly from our charge controllers to our main bus, which is this guy over here, we've actually added 2 additional power posts. So this here will be where we're going to wire the final charge controller as well. So this is the positive bus for all of our charge controllers. This is the negative bus for all of our charge controllers. So there was some work involved basically to go from, instead of going directly from this controller to the main bus, we now go from this charge controller. You can see these wires here going up to this new power post, and the power post goes down to the main bus over here. So yeah, this just kind of cleans things up a little bit. It also keeps us within standards of having the right number of connections per power post and per bus. And yeah, after we've done this, we should now have additional solar. Okay, and the wiring is done. So we have 1, 2, 3, and off in the corner there 4 DC to DC chargers. So these are what are charging our lithium batteries from our starter battery when our engine is running. So we've doubled our capacity here. We now have better wire organization. It's not perfectly clean, but we have the 3 power posts in place now. So these basically allow us to put all of these onto individual buses so that it's much cleaner to understand where the power is going and where it's coming from, as well as making sure we're just not putting too many wires that are running directly over the batteries and into the batteries. So we tested it out last night, and we get about 85 amps with this new setup, as compared to about 40 to 50 that we had with the previous one, for the power that we for when we're running the engine at our normal speeds at dock. But yeah, we'll test it out when we get out back on the ocean and we are motoring again and see how well it does. The sun is shaded right now, so it's not going to be as high as it normally is, but you can see here we have 82 watts or 84 watts. This is the total from the sun, the 2 sets of solar panels. So we go into our menu now. We can see we have 2 things. We have the 130, that's from the new arch that we just set up. Let's head on back. So this is the 130, we're getting 56 watts from that. And this is the 120, we're getting 33 watts from that. So these are old existing solar panels. So together we've seen this get up to above 400 watts, which is way better than anything we'd ever seen. We probably averaged maybe 150 during the day. So with this new setup, we should get much more power. Both of these are additive. They will both go into our batteries. And over time, we'll see that our batteries will keep their charge. We should be able to run our freezer and do many of the things that we want to do with the power on the boat.